going to cause more financial burden on the state to provide such services, but for the protection of civilians, of nationals, that would be welcomed. However, whilst we're looking for government intervention, we as citizens must take responsibility for ourselves too. So, as drivers, we have to take into consideration our general health, and that's why it's important to get our checkups to know the status of our general health, our eyesight, whether we have high blood pressure, and so on and so forth. And in so doing, to also check our loved one's situation as well. If you have a father who is driving, he's in his 80s or 90s, it's important that we take note of those circumstances. Because Franklin, if you have a grandfather, he's 86 and he's on the road, maybe you would want to discourage him from driving. And if he insists that he has a company and he's driving his short distances and so on and so forth. But we can't always put everything on a government because government needs resources, especially in a small island developing state like ours with limited resources. Yeah. And things are already tough financially. So really it is our responsibility as well to ensure that we are fit and proper on the road.
The government makes a lot of revenue via licenses, insurance, licensing. We've recognized that in recent times, I think through China, through some other means, that there have been the erection of a contribution made from government to government bilateral agreements with regards to the solar lighting. People are complaining that they've suddenly disappeared from our landscape along the roadways in Dominica. Mm-hmm. You think at this point in time, the traffic department, it has to be enforced almost from a part of constitutional parliamentary level for people recommending, like for instance, some were saying the street lights need to be updated.
Oh yes, definitely, that's a need.
Certain places you recognize, some people were saying by the DBMC Mamboy area, down by East Charles area. Certain places the guys mentioned in the countryside. Dewash area, the roundabouts. Some people are suggesting street lights or roundabouts, particularly from DBMC coming up to the hospital. Somebody recommended.
Oh yes, we need street lights all over the place. And the government did attempt to light certain areas, but we know the story. A number of these street lamps were destroyed.
They were unalived.
For one reason or the other.
Yes.
So again, it comes back to taking responsibility for ourselves because government can only do so much. But I do agree there are several areas which can be improved to make our roads safer and to protect us, both drivers and pedestrians.
Yeah.
Some areas require barriers, lighting, improvements in the pavements of the roads. I mean, when you drive around the island, there are some real bad roads in certain areas. And some of the drivers, sometimes they put their lives at risk trying to avoid a pothole. I always say it's best you pass in the pothole and spend some money on the shocks for the vehicle as opposed to spend money on yourself. Or you may never get the chance to spend money on yourself. But really, there are areas that needs improvement. The whole administration of the traffic department needs improvement. So we have to look at it from an infrastructural point of view as well as from an administrative point of view. Take, for example, when we have traffic accidents here in Dominica, it takes forever for determination of the matter before court of law.
Yeah.
And I always have concerns about that. Why does a traffic traffic matter has to take so long?
Go into that in detail. Yes.
All right. So we have had some serious traffic accidents that cause or would have caused deaths, and in some cases, some serious injuries. And of course, unless a driver who would have caused the accident takes responsibility, he goes to his insurance company if his vehicle is insured, and he says that it is my fault,
Mm-hmm.
and as a result, this other person has suffered some serious personal injury. In other words, he would have accepted liability. Absent of such, the matter is taken before the court,
Yeah.
unless if there is some arrangement between the two parties,
Yeah.
meaning the victim and the offender. And when those matters go before the court, it takes forever. Sometimes over a year. And I have known of cases where the police department, the traffic department will take more than a year to initiate legal action. So, in some cases where persons would have suffered some serious personal injuries, and the driver, the offending driver, or the purported offending
Offended.
driver fails to accept liability, it means that that matter has to be determined in a court of law. And that would be initiated by the police. But the police sometimes are so tardy in taking statements from witnesses, from drivers, taking measurements, and filing the matter before the court. Now, for
Mm-hmm.
simple traffic matters,
Mm-hmm.
the police department has up to 6 months to initiate a legal action. And I don't know whether you were ever part of an accident
Oh, yeah, I'll tell you, I cannot wait for you from you to tell you about
and
that.
police got involved.
Mm-hmm.
But the practice would be the police would charge both drivers for in cases where you have alleged reckless driving, where the accident would have caused the death, then the police is not statute barred from taking it a year, 2 years, 3 years, because you'll be looking at death caused by dangerous driving, and there's
Yeah.
no statutory limitation for that. And that's where the police sometimes lapse
Mm.
because it takes so long to initiate the matter before a court of law.
Yeah. But you're happy you said that. Okay, I have some text coming in. Once again, if you cannot get me on the line, you know the telephone numbers there 449-3095, 3096, 3097. And I have with me Joshua Francis. We're going to be talking about all of the legal parameters. Before I go to your car, I've just been sent. Let me pass it on to you, Josh. That's the guardrail for that the Penville 5 was encountered. As you can
Right.
see, it looked really flimsy. I'm not sure the speed or velocity of the vehicle, but that's somebody just sent me the picture
Right, right.
there of the area and some of the notes. But however, okay, let me just deal with it first, and then we can talk about it. And I'll tell you about my few incidents. Franklin, we took an arrow. We took, basically, we took King Arrow. Mighty Arrow says, "Too much fed never kill a man yet." Well, that's proven wrong. But frankly, it would be interesting to inquire if there's a Penville church service during the Penville feast. Did you know? Did you know you need a Class C license to drive passengers or heavy equipment? Don't you need to be a certain age to obtain a Class C? No, any age drives anything. So it's just supposed to be more structure. And he honestly think that sleep played a role in the Penville 5 and the Penville 2. Don't drive sleepy behind the wheel. That's the suggestion here. No, let me tell you what happened with me. I had about 3, 4 accidents. One of them I had nothing to do with it, but I was, and that's when I understood insurance. We'll talk about insurance in a while, and who is there's a technical term you have for who's liable for responsibility. I'll tell you about that because I didn't know the law and I lost. I lost about $25,000.
Oh, wow.
So I just bought this new car. I bought one from Joseph and Gabriel, 1509, running Mitsubishi Gallons. Yeah, I'm smooth. Yeah, I'm making money. I bought this cash. It gave me problem with the transmission. I just get rid of that. I packed that by Napa and
Yeah.
I just left it there. I bought a new car, Credit Union.
Yeah.
This past at Adventist Pastor, selling a brand new Mitsubishi Galant 2024. That was the actual registration. I mean, talking about souped up. Those days, a Galant, if you had a Galant, you were the prime minister. I'm taking up Cecil Joseph at the time I was doing sales marketing in Dominica for everybody. So I collaborating with Cecil Joseph with DBS, and he was a sales manager at the time. Go down to Portsmouth, down to Rob Thomas and all the businesses. And coming back up, I get to Meru, and there's a lightest bus coming up the road. And then I'm reasonable speed. I'm a speed merchant. I was bending the corner. This highest bus comes. I go to the left. It drives to the left. I go to the right. I say if I go back to the left too far, I may hit something as I'm coming. I went right in the side of the bush, and this guy come and hits me plumb. Maximum speed. I had my seatbelt. Cecil had the seatbelt, and Cecil immediately, like your complexion, it just turned black and blue. I had a policeman, Bonte from Paybush or Thibault. He found he didn't have his seatbelt. He flew away in between, you know. But my galant was strong. This guy, light, has hit me so hard that his legs broke four places and
Yeah.
and flattened on my galant.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing: this guy was suffering from blackouts through diabetes.
Mm-hmm.
I ended up losing because I didn't get a vehicle to hold on to. What the insurance gives you, it doesn't cover anything else. It just went straight to the loan. And later on, somebody come and tell me, "Come on, man, you didn't know you were in your right. Plus, you have witnesses." And the man admits that he was ill. So, is there how does someone get you knock? I know a man named Roy Hill lost his both sons, innocent, the same corner by my boy there,
Mm-hmm.
just to lose.
No, actually, that one was at Kinfield, if I recall.
Oh, yes, oh yes,
Yeah,
yes.
near the
That's
airport.
it. That's it.
Right.
Kurt White is attending to DBS at vehicle and business. A vehicle hits him.
You mean
And
Kurt Matthew?
Kurt Matthew, sorry, Kurt Matthew,
Yeah.
and dies.
Mhm.
So who has the responsibility? The state or the individual? What is? How do you get redressed when you just lose your loved one or you lose your life because of the negligence
Well,
of another driver?
Yeah, well, it depends. If negligence or recklessness of one
Or
driver
recklessness. Mhm.
causes the death of another,
Mhm.
then that driver, if he or she survives, takes responsibility, as opposed to an accident being caused resulting from a defect on the road. If someone finds himself in a serious accident resulting from a defect on the road, it would mean that
Yes.
the
Now,
state would have to take
now
responsibility.
you're talking. Now you're talking to me. Yes.
Because the state has a duty of care to us to ensure that the roads are safe, and that when we use those roads that we are not endangering our lives or putting ourselves at risk. And if we do take risk on roads which are bad, that could cause accidents, we ourselves also must take some liability as well. There's something referred to as contributory liability or contributory negligence.
Say that again. Liability.
Contributory negligence,
Okay.
because you have to be a reasonable person.
Mhm.
If you are traversing in a certain area and you foresee that an accident could result because of bad roads, that you could plunge your vehicle, be plunged in a precipice, or you could enter a gorge, and you still take that chance knowing that those possibilities exist, especially if there's a sign saying a trench ahead, gorge ahead, or take a detour, whatever it is, and you take that chance and you go down that road, then you have to take some responsibility, if not all, for taking that risk. So it all depends on the circumstance, Franklin.
Yeah.
And sometimes, as I said earlier, drivers being aware that they drove recklessly, causing an accident, they will just take responsibility on the spot. So these two drivers, if there are two drivers involved, they enter into an arrangement. I always tell people, if they're entering into a settlement and to keep the police out of the equation, that they reduce their arrangement in writing, because drivers are well within their rights to settle a matter out of court if there's no third party involved, or there is no damage to property or anything owned by the state. And sometimes, I mean, the police is not obliged to allow both parties to just settle on a traffic matter, because you're looking at a traffic matter. It's not just it's not a private matter, it's a traffic matter. Police encourage people to settle, but it ought not to be done orally. It should be reduced in writing, because I know of certain situations where driver A would take responsibility for an accident causing damage to person B's vehicle, and they would not reduce it in writing, and then eventually, person, the person who accepted liability would not want to take responsibility. And then all of a sudden the matter has to go to court. By then, what happens? There isn't anything in writing. It's word against word. There isn't any police report. Because take for example, Franklin, if person A and B are involved in an accident and they decide they're going to settle the matter on their own, a police officer comes and you say, "Oh, you say to the police or they say to the police, it's okay, we are settling this matter," and the police says, "Okay," and it is not reduced in writing, and there's no performance of the arrangement. The police who was on the scene, or probably never came on the scene, would not have taken any measurement. And then all of a sudden, this oral arrangement never occurs, and the aggrieved party wants to enforce the oral arrangement. He goes to court. What is he going to provide to the court as evidence to support his case? So that is why it's important to have those arrangements reduced in writing, because you never take it for granted that when a driver says, "Okay, I take responsibility, I will buy your tire, or I'll fix your bumper, or I will, pay for repainting your vehicle," that he or she is going to do it. Of course, there are people who act in good faith, and there are even people who may have acted in good faith, but they just don't have the means.
Okay.
So the aggrieved party is now left to decide whether he or she is going to take the matter to court. And if he has an agreement reduced in writing, it's always to his benefit.
Okay, I'm going to try to see if I get some, because I think I have a question coming in there. I'm not quite sure if you want to answer this one, if I should get somebody from the traffic department. And I'm just asking: if there is a death in a vehicle accident, shouldn't the driver's license be suspended pending investigation?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I'm not too sure whether the traffic department has that power. It has to be determined by a court of law, and that has happened. And usually, we don't have interim orders. So I am aware of situations where death may have been caused by dangerous driving, and the matter is before the court. I can't recall the prosecution in any of those matters asking for the suspension of the license pending determination of the matter, but that would not be a bad thing. The existing laws may not make provision for such practice, but it's not a bad thing at all.
Yeah. Okay. What do you recommend if you may choose to answer or not because of your background? What would you advise your client in case that in terms of protecting oneself? Your insurance has to be up to date. Your insurance.
Well, yes. The first thing to protect yourself is to drive carefully.
Okay, okay, all right, okay, good.
Because
nice.
You do not want an accident.
Yes.
That's the first thing that all drivers should take into consideration. To drive carefully.
Defensively, not the only offensive.
There's a saying when you're on the road to drive for yourself and the other drivers.
Okay.
So you drive with caution, you drive with reason, you drive with logic, and you drive with calm. I don't understand how an island 29 miles long yet produce so many fast drivers. Sometimes you see people drive ridiculously fast in places like Pottersville.
Yeah.
Not even under the Cadenfield Cliff, and you're wondering where is that person going? What is the hurry? Where is there an emergency?
Yeah.
Some of us just like to drive very fast, but when we drive very very fast, especially through villages, we are not only putting ourselves at risk of having accidents, but putting lives at risk. Because of course, faster you drive, it means that you have a shorter period of time to respond.
Explain that for me.
Making a claim for compensation.
Well,
no, explain that. Listen to this.
Liability refers to who is legally responsible for the accident and resulting injuries. In order to make a claim, it must be established that another party was at fault for the crash. If the Insurance Commission of Western Australia determines that liability is not accepted or only partially accepted, they will write to you explaining their decision. However, even if liability is not accepted, you may still be eligible to receive treatment, care and support if you are catastrophically injured in the accident. In some cases, the Insurance Commission may decide to proceed with a claim on a without prejudice and without admission of liability basis. This means the claim is being processed without making a final decision on liability, and any payments made up to that date will not be affected, even if the final decision is not to pay 100% of the claim. If you have any questions about liability,
Okay, so we have a few. Okay, what is liability?
Well, to put it in simple words, liability is taking responsibility or being deemed responsible, because it's not always one accepting responsibility,
Right.
but you may be deemed to be responsible by a court of law.
I asked that question because I've seen it happen in Antigua with me and in Dominica. Is it safe to take the person's word for it in a signed piece of paper?
No,
Okay.
that's what I said earlier. It's never safe to take anybody's word for it. People can renege, people can deny, but when it's in writing, so just to clarify and expand what I
Okay,
said.
before you do that,
Yes.
yes, good afternoon, 151.
Yes, Franklin.
Yes.
Our learned attorney, Mr. Francis. Every insurance policy, I'm in the automobile business. I have seen every automobile insurance policy says in the event of death, a claim of up to $1 million can be paid out. And I know so many accidents that took place where a death occurred, including a family member of mine, and never, not 1 cent was paid by the insurance company. And that just continues nonstop up to this day. And no one is bringing this about to talk about this. Why are the insurances not honoring their obligations in the event of death in an accident? Thank you.
Thank you, Pedro. Yes.
Well, that's a very interesting observation. I would love to see one of those insurance contracts which says that an aggrieved party can claim up to $1 million. I'm not too sure that whether that is correct, but if Pedro can produce one of those for me, I would be happy to read it and to take such into consideration, because in my practice as an attorney, and I'm no traffic law expert or insurance expert, as you know, most attorneys here, if not all, do a little piece of everything. But I think I'm equipped with sufficient knowledge to say that in Dominica, the insurance companies do not give more than $200,000 on a claim. And it's only this morning I was looking for the law to support that position. And Franklin, I don't know from your experience whether you are aware of anybody who was involved in an accident, whether it caused a death or not, and the insurance company gave more than $200,000 to the victim. Now, Pedro also raised the issue of persons who were affected by accidents. He mentioned a family member or friend
That he
who,
lost, yes.
who lost
He part of his family.
right,
he
a family
suffered
member, and the insurance company did not settle. But again, as I said, here in our jurisdiction, in contrast to the clip you just played, unless there's liability, the insurance companies do not settle.
Okay.
So where there's an accident and somebody takes responsibility for the accident, in other words, says, look, I'm liable, it's because of my reckless driving that this accident resulted. The person goes to his insurer and inform of the accident and says, I accept liability. So in a situation like that, his insurer, that's the person who has accepted liability, and the victim comes to some kind of settlement. So some victims would retain the services of an attorney to negotiate on his or her behalf, especially if there are personal injuries involved. Because of course, where someone would have suffered a personal injury, the insurer now has to pay compensation for the personal injury, as well as injury to the car. And if property, there's the vehicle moved into a house, all those things have to be taken into consideration. So sometimes settlements may require a deeper analysis as opposed to a simple claim. And some people are wise enough to get the service or services of attorneys, and others just allow the insurance company to decide what they're going to pay. So I always advise people, when you come to law, get an attorney.
Okay.
All right, it's between you and your attorney to decide what would be the cut for the attorney. That's another thing, because some attorneys may take 10% on the settlement, some will take 20%. It all depends on what arrangement that is made between that person and the attorney.
Yeah.
But as I said, earlier when you played a clip,
Yes.
which would suggest that insurance companies may provide assistance or financial compensation or
Yes.
service medical expenses whilst a matter is being determined. This may be in the United States of America, probably where their insurance laws are more advanced.
Mm-hmm.
Because to go back on what Pedro said
Yeah.
about the $1 million as being part of a term or
Yes.
condition in an
Yes.
insurance arrangement, I don't think that is correct, because I'm aware that these insurance companies do not pay more than $200,000 to a victim
Mm-hmm.
or the victim's family. It's worse, frankly, in our jurisdiction, where somebody would have lost his life or her life, and the beneficiary in that person's estate receives only $100 or $80,000. I mean, $100,000 or
Okay. Yeah.
$80,000.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, basically, it, when that happens, we are suggesting that the deceased financial value was just
Yeah.
100,000.
And who pays that? The person who caused the accident or the insurance?
Well, again, it depends. It's not every accident drives in an insurer, because if you're driving a vehicle which is uninsured,
Mm-hmm.
then you have to take personal responsibility for the accident. Should there be injuries, should there be a death, then you as a driver accepting liability or being deemed responsible for the accident would have to take personal responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
But if there is an insurer, meaning that the driver who would have caused the accident, then if he or she is deemed to be liable, his insurance company has to settle.
Mm-hmm.
He would have informed his insurance company. I mean, that's, after all, that's why you have an insurer, to provide in situations like that. But frankly, our laws, our insurance laws must improve. That's an area we must give attention, because it's unacceptable in 2025 that a life values $80,000 or $100,000 or $120,000. We have had several cases here in Dominica, death caused by dangerous driving or death caused as a result of occupier's liability, and the victim's family would get between 80,000 to 150,000 EC dollars. A matter of fact, someone suffering a personal injury, such as losing a leg, may attract more money than a family or an estate attracting that amount of money for loss of life. And that should be unacceptable. But in that determination, the insurance company takes several things into consideration. And if it's the court that has to make that determination, the factors that are taken into account are the same. So you have to look at the age of the victim. Like where you have an accident, death caused by dangerous driving, the court will take into consideration the age of the victim. A younger person would naturally attract more compensation than an older person. The court or the insurer must take into consideration, or will take into consideration, whether the person was employed or unemployed, whether the person had dependents or not, whether the person had an infirmity, a known infirmity or not, or a disability, the person's educational background.
Yeah, okay. As you say that,
Those are some of the factors that will be taken into consideration. Because, take for example, a victim has 5 dependents, minors. That estate would attract more than a victim who had no children or no dependents.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just children, minor children who are dependents. Parents could be dependents, spouses, or anybody in the household who would be depending on that, who would have depended on that victim for survival. Franklin, you were asking a question.
Yeah, because I have a lot of them. Okay, so just want to remind you, excuse me, if you need to ask a question right now, is a good time to call. You can ask, writing a question. Some people are texting me and voicemailing me and say they do not necessarily want their voice to be heard. However, a few questions I've jotted down. Let me take them in random order. Who is responsible for an accident? If it happens, okay, I'm going to take this one because I have about 7 questions coming in here. Okay, let's take this one. Yes, Joshua Francis says, hey, we're talking vehicle, we're talking about your protection, we're talking about accident, liability, and everything else. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes.
Franklin, and good afternoon to Mr. Joshua Francis.
Hi, good afternoon.
Franklin, Something I listened with interest your description of your mishap when you had an accident.
Mm-hmm.
And you said that the driver who caused the accident, who hit you, was suffering from blackout.
Yeah, through hybrid diabetes or high blood pressure.
Diabetes,
Yes.
you said. And then earlier you were raising the issue whether diabetics and people with hypertension should be, when they go in for their license, should that be looked at or whatever. So we need to look at some statistics because statistically, people with diabetes don't get blackouts that often, and definitely not people with high blood pressure. So we'd have to look at statistics. Now, in the US, if there is a patient who suffered a seizure and the neurologist who saw that patient knows that, or they would be aware that this is a driver, they have to report it to the Department of Motor Vehicle. And that person's license is suspended for some time because they are not safe to drive. And they have to go through further testing and they have to be cleared eventually through medical treatment and care and testing and whatnot before they can reinstate their license. Mm-hmm. Now, I guess in Dominica, we don't have that. But as to diabetics and hypertensive people, and we don't have that here either, because the guy who hit you, if he went to a doctor at all, ever, and that doctor was aware that he was getting blackouts, why was he on the road? Mm-hmm. Because that doctor should be reporting that to the traffic department and put them on alert about this person. But is that in our laws? Is that something that we would have to look at and change? No. You have more people drunk on the road driving than diabetics having blackouts.
Perfect point. Yes.
But we're not checking people that drunk and driving, are we? So that is my observation on this medical issue.
I'm happy
also,
you. Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Also, I heard Joshua Francis just talking about the different types of compensation that different people would receive when they have an accident, how many dependents they have, their age, were they working. But to me, that's not fair because a life is a life. So because I'm older and I have no dependents, my family shouldn't get compensation as much as somebody who is younger, who might have 2 children. I just find that that's not fair. It should be across the board. You guilty for an offense, you took a life, you look at the circumstances of the accident and deal from there. That thing about, one can get more than the other, to me that's not fair. Just my observation. I'm listening.
Yeah, I thank you for that because you open up a nice avenue there for the continued unfolding and rolling discussion for this afternoon. I'm going to do that, and then you just created another 2 more questions from to ask Joshua.
Causing an auto accident, and you're wondering what the ramifications are going to be? Check out this video to learn more. Hey everybody, Barry here with the Lawful Channel. On this channel, as you know, you're going to find short videos on the legal topics that affect our lives. Check out the show notes and description below for more information. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel. And if you have any questions or comments, reach out to me. If I can't help you, I'll find someone who can. So almost all the videos you see on YouTube are about...
Yes, good afternoon. You're on.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Moses and Mr. Francis.
Yes.
Okay, I listened to the caller a while ago, and to my understanding, I don't think what Joshua is saying is because the person is older, they don't need compensation or that sort. It's just that sometimes if a person have younger children, is I look at it as the responsibilities that come with younger children. Both parties, I think, should be compensated. Now, in the US, I'll tell you what happened to me personally. I had an accident. I was not in the wrong.
Okay.
I was going straight, somebody coming from a gas station, merging into traffic, and knocked my vehicle. I called the police, and then the police came, asked me if I had to go to the emergency room. No, the lady said no, she did not have to go to the emergency room either. But you have up to 72 hours for you to do that. And what happened, when I gave my statement, she gave her statement, the police was there, they determined that she was, the insurance company is looking to whatever. She was wrong. I had to pay my deductible. I did that. When they to take my vehicle to the place that my insurance asked me to take it to, they found out she was wrong. So the deductible that I paid, her insurance had to reimburse me my money. See, because when they come on the scene, they will ask you, they will call the ambulance, police, whatever thing. Everybody will be there. Neither of us went to the emergency room, but after she left, within the 72 hours, she went to the emergency room. Although she was at fault because I was reimbursed with my deductible from her insurance, you know what she did? She turned around and she sued my insurance company for her medical bills, and they had to pay her. I never knew that could happen because home is like, if you're wrong, you're wrong. But after she was wrong with what happened in the accident, she went to the emergency room and she sued my insurance company. And the day I had to go to court, I was on my way to Maryland for court. They called me and told me they settled with the lady and pay her medical bill. So sometimes it's not always how you think it should go, is what that normally happens. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, Josh. Oh, so this one is because I'm doing cross purpose. I'm doing international law, so to speak, and I'm doing national law. So many of I'm trying to stimulate as much interest and create as much discussion as possible. So I just got another text there. Just asking a person where they're from. It's an overseas number. So in case you want to text me anywhere you're unable to get in through because our international line is a little down. My telephone number is my mobile number is 767-315. 7275. It says in Dominica, do the automobile insurance companies provide uninsured motorist coverage as an option? What do you think? Uninsured?
Yeah, I'm trying to understand the question. If you're uninsured, you're uninsured.
Yeah, okay. My next question, though, in tandem to that, how safe is and secure is third-party insurance?
Well, there are pros and cons. Third party, you pay less.
What if you get in an accident and the same person is dead at third party or first party or second party?
Then you take responsibility.
Okay.
However, some attorney was telling me that even with third party, the insurance company may have to take some kind of responsibility. Again, it depends on the contractual arrangement between the insured party and the insurer. But generally, third party has limited coverage compared to a full comprehensive. But Franklin, as I said, I'm no traffic law specialist here or insurance law specialist. I'm just speaking based on general experiences I've had dealing with persons involved in traffic accidents.
Cause an accident, a rock fall. You're passing on the Taro cliff. A rock fall.
That's an act of God.
Okay, right. To explain that. So what happened if I sway from a rock? And let's say I didn't end up in the sea, but I never had an accident. So did God cause that? He tried me to save my life. I tried to save my life, and I took somebody else. That's highly technical. Yeah.
Well, I mean, again, a court of law has a presider considered to be a reasonable man, and he makes decisions based on reasonableness. And in situations like that, Franklin,
Mhm.
if a man life is at risk, and to avoid what he foresees as a possible death, and in trying to save his life, he takes the life of another person by mistake or by
Yeah.
an accident, it is for the court to decide whether he was reasonable or unreasonable. It comes back to the issue of negligence and or recklessness.
Mhm.
And that is based on reasonableness. Because if you take reasonable steps to protect your life and you did not foresee that you would cause an accident to take somebody else's life, then you may not be held liable. It all depends on the circumstances surrounding that accident.
Yeah.
So several
Overseas?
things must be taken into consideration.
Okay. Overseas? Okay. So we still haven't gotten that rectified. Yeah. The other thing, would the driver be liable? Well, two things. If you're on a bus
Mhm.
and the bus driver gets into an accident, is that with the insurance for all passengers? Okay.
Supposed to.
Okay. What if I'm driving? What if something has happened? A friend of mine got into a vehicle accident in Portsmouth stretch, and accidentally knocked on a woman because you couldn't see when you're going up. When you get to before you get to Regent's Hotel, you don't see the hill there. You're going up to Portsmouth, and then the lady was crossing the road at the same time, but she was pregnant. She died. Is that double homicide?
Wow.
I just saw my friend yesterday.
Yeah, if there's evidence that she had
No,
an embryo in there.
yeah, but who's liable because you couldn't see?
He couldn't see.
No, because it's an incline in the road. You cannot
Right.
see ahead the flat before you get to Ross University. So it's that incline there by TB.
Right.
Right. And you bend there. Regents is on the side there.
Mhm.
Now, and when he emerged to clear vision, she was crossing the road. At the head, he was already at speed. So that's a double homicide. He was not put in prison though.
Yeah, well, usually you're not arrested and imprisoned for those type of matters. But I would assume that this matter is still before the court.
It's been a couple of years
If it
now.
is a couple of years
It's
now, because
yeah.
of course
Decades, as a matter of fact.
decades.
Decades. I know at least 2 going on 3 decades. But I remember it clearly.
Was it that matter must have been struck off
It must
from
be
the
struck,
court?
yes.
Oh, that's interesting.
Itching to say some more though.
Right.
Because
Maybe not. Yeah.
he was a former law officer.
Wow.
Yeah. So
But-
situation like that, how does one protect themselves?
Well, Franklin,
Mm.
you know, if I'm allowed to comment on matters of that nature, I have had, I wouldn't say the privilege, but I've had the experience of dealing with a few of those matters. And what I find is that some people are overly sensitive in respect to the law and morally insensitive.
Mhm.
So we have had situations where a person driving would have caused a death or some serious injury. And that person would not go up to the victim to show affection.
Ah.
In some situations, the driver would say that he refused or failed to say anything to the victim or the victim's family, especially where there's a death, out of fear that he or she would be expressing liability and to take responsibility for the accident, especially if the person is uninsured or the vehicle is uninsured. And I'm saying that in situations like that, the driver, the offending driver, could show remorse without consenting to any form of liability. In other words, it's good to show compassion. It is wrong that you're involved in an accident causing another person to suffer serious injuries and you fail or refuse to go up to that victim to say, "Oh, I'm sorry," or if you don't want to use that word because sorry may be taken that you have accepted responsibility or liability for the accident, but to show some compassion, to to go up to the person and show the person is okay, if you have to call an ambulance, if you have to call family, and to follow up if the person is admitted at the hospital, to go at the hospital and show some love to the person. If the person is speechless or the person even die, then I would suggest that you call the deceased family if you have a number, or find out, the deceased family and show some remorse.
Okay, the next.
Mhm.
Let's just take this because we're gonna shift.
Right.
We're gonna shift.
Mhm.
Is that you think we have exhausted this one here?
Well, Franklin, the final thing I want to say on this is we have been looking at accidents from a legal point of view and a social point of view and maybe a financial point of view. But we are to also look at it from a spiritual point of view.
Yeah, talk to me.
And in view of what happened to these two persons who died from an accident over the weekend, all of us should be reminded that death can visit at any hour and that we must be prepared always. And that is why we need to live a life with humility and preparation, because none of us knoweth the hour. Everyone has an appointment with death. I don't like an appointment with the dentist or doctor where we can change it, we can cancel it. The appointment with death cannot be changed. And the sad thing about it, unless if we plan to take our lives, we do not know when it's going to descend upon us. And that is why I urge the public to always be humble, be good to one another, live a life knowing that, as Job said, life is short, yet filled with trouble. Paul says that life is like vapor. It appears and disappears. You do not live like you're going to die. You live to live. But it's important to always be prepared spiritually that should death visit as a thief in the night, that our souls are with the Lord.
Yeah. Are you there with me?
Yes, I'm there with you. It's me again.
That's okay. Thank you very
About
much.
the accident part and seeing the person and you did not see the person is not your fault. It's an accident. That's what an accident is. Something that, you did not plan, you did not do deliberately. But to my opinion, that's what your insurance should be covering you for in case something happens. It might not be your fault. The person who get in the accident or got hit did not deliberately want to get hit, but it happens. And if you have your insurance, that's what your insurance would be covering you for in case something happens. It doesn't have to be your fault or not your fault. Another thing, again, in Dominica, I know things are different because when I come home, I just don't understand how things go. But, you can, if you have a vehicle in Dominica, I don't know for how many years or the age of the vehicle, or if you take a loan while you're paying the loan, you have full coverage. When the vehicle is a certain age or whatever the deal is, I know Mr. Francis said he's not an expert or whatever thing, I understand that. But I have my vehicle here. It's been paid off for years. And I still have full coverage on my policy. Because that's what I want to pay for. I don't want a third party or a 10 party or a 12 party or a 15th party. I want full coverage in case whatever happens, that's what my insurance is covering me for. Why in Dominica you cannot do the same thing? You have to have a third party thing. If I knock your vehicle, I'm responsible. I can have a full coverage here, and if I am wrong, depending on the accident, points go up on my insurance, and I can lose my on my license. My license can be suspended. My insurance policy my premium will go up. But if that's what I choose to pay, I choose to pay. I choose to have full coverage. I want to have full coverage. It's my vehicle, and I'm paying whatever I feel like I want to pay. Why in Dominica at a certain time they have to have you with that third-party coverage that does not cover not even toilet paper in the toilet? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, we do have full coverage insurance. We do have. And in the United States, there is also third party. So it's left up to the insured party or the driver to decide what he or she desires.
Yeah, somebody in the States is saying in the United States, if you have uninsured motorist coverage, your insurance company will cover you for injuries and or damage to your vehicle if the guilty party is uninsured. That is technical. That's American.
If the guilty party is uninsured. So your insurer will take responsibility. Yes, we have similarities here in Dominica.
Okay.
Because if you, for example, Franklin, you're driving your vehicle, which is subject to full coverage, and you find yourself in an accident with a driver whose vehicle has third party or is not insured at all, you can make a claim from your insurer.
Okay.
Yeah, you can go to your insurer to say, look, I was involved in an accident, and I'm bringing the assessment of the damage. My vehicle is repairable, and is your insurer will give you a check.
Answer this call.
Mhm.
Answer this call.
Yeah. Hello. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. To address something Mr. Joshua Francis said.
Yeah, he's right there. He's answering you.
Yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
Joshua Francis,
Yes.
in Dominica, the insurance companies do not allow you to insure your vehicle for full coverage when it's a certain age.
That is true.
So that's what the lady was saying. So you said it's your option. It's not your option when I want to insure for full coverage, but the insurance company will not let me because my vehicle is a certain age.
Yeah. Well,
It's
yes.
not this.
Yes, you're correct on that. But when she spoke, the impression I got is that she was speaking generally. So my answer was general. But you're right.
So,
Yes.
what I heard her say is that even if her car is whatever is paid for and sold her, she still wants full coverage.
Yeah, but she did not assign an
That
age
in
to it.
Dominica.
Yes.
And I experienced the same thing too.
Right.
Yeah, in Dominica.
Yes, and that's fair enough.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for your observation. Okay. I'm going to just try to take this one, but I know. Am I getting through to you? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Good afternoon.
The international line is
Franklin.
working. Yes, it's working. You're lucky. I wasn't going to put it on because all morning we couldn't get through the internet. And now you're lucky. You're first caller for the day on the internet.
Not look, man. Jaja guiding everything, man.
Yeah, man.
It's not your turn. It's not your turn.
Uja Connect.
Good afternoon to Joshua. But listen,
Uh-huh.
I heard Joshua talking about if you have an accident with somebody and you want to keep the police off. But for the insurance to pay off any liability, you must have a police report. If you haven't got a police report, it could look like a scam, Franklin, because if I say, Franklin, man, I know we can make some money. And we could come up with a scheme to hit our transport and go to the insurance and they'll pay up, but up here, you must have a police report.
When you say up here, hold on, let's clarify for my audience. When you say up here, where you at?
In Georgia, for example.
Okay,
Georgia.
good. All right, wonderful. Go ahead.
Yeah, so even if it's because if you're on private property, like you're not on a public highway or in a public space, and you have an accident, let's say at a restaurant parking lot, they cannot really charge you, but they could give you a report of what happened, so the insurance can dish out that money. But because as the lady was saying, a full coverage is always better, Franklin. For example, if you're driving and a big stone come out from under the cliff and it fall along in the road, according to your coverage, the insurance will pay, because once I was driving and a piece of iron hit underneath my car, and it's a hybrid car, and it damaged, it was costing about $12,000. And when I take it to the dealership, they tell me the insurance, I didn't even know that the insurance will pay for it. And when I contact the insurance, they paid for it. But insurance company in general always fighting to pay the least. They don't want to pay. That's like a big rip-off again. And as Joshua said, it's always good to have an attorney, because the insurance business is to pay as little as they can on nothing. So when you have a lawyer, they go by the law and they will consider how much, I don't know, they will come up with the price. And another observation, when the lady talk about how old are you, and if you are working, and those type of things have to be considered before rewarding you. I agree with the lady. It shouldn't be a life is a life. And when you take a life, it depends on your negligence, or if because
Yeah, we cut
Yeah,
off.
we lost. Yeah. Okay, we lost you, bro, in the mid sentence. I guess that's a drop in our internet line, but
Yeah,
you pick up what you were
yeah, he
saying.
made a very salient point in respect to a police report. Again, accidents being settled by the parties must be looked at on a case to case basis. So, settlement doesn't always involve an insurance company, but where an insurance company is involved, it is in the interest of the parties, particularly the victim, to ensure that the police would have made an assessment of the point of accident, because some insurance companies would insist that a police report be forwarded. So it's not just a matter of getting the vehicle assessed by a mechanic and providing a mechanical report to show what would be the cost of replacements or the cost of repair. But some insurance companies would go beyond that to actually demand a police report. So it's in everybody's best interest, where insurance is involved, to at least have the police prepare a report or to take the measurements as to the point of accident, the width of the road, the conditions of the road, if there are any witnesses to take statements, and so on and so forth. It's in everybody's, the victim's interest, particularly because I said people can renege on their oral arrangements.
Yeah.
And then, of course, to have that reduced into writing. But the practice here has been where the parties or the drivers decide that they want to settle the matter, they will ask the police, or they will tell the police, look, we're going to settle this, and the police will just withdraw. Legally, the police is not obliged to withdraw because, as I said, this is a traffic accident. This is public law to some extent. But the practice has been where the party says, look, we're going to settle this, the police will just leave this alone and allow it to be determined by both parties.
Yeah, George. This one is a little fast, but I don't know on this one, but a rather interesting. Okay, let me let. Okay.
Passengers, and you have an accident, and you have about 16 or 17 persons, on the bus that the insurance will not really compensate. Nobody at all, because anybody could be the 16th or the 17th person that is on board, and so on. So this is something that we need to clarify.
Okay, yeah, let me take that again.
In reference to insurance, it is my understanding that if you have a bus that is insured to carry 15 passengers, and then you have an accident, and you have about 16 or 17 persons, on the bus, that the insurance will not really compensate. Nobody at all, because anybody could be the 16th or the 17th person that is on board, and so on. So this is something that we need to clarify.
Yeah, and that makes sense, Franklin, because the driver would be in breach of the agreement that he has with his insurer. So that is why it's important to know the terms and conditions of the insurance policy. Because if the policy provides for a passenger bus to carry 15 passengers maximum, and on a given day you have 17 or even 16 passengers, and involved in an accident where
Never knew
you're
that.
responsible, the insurance company is well within its legal right not to provide compensation, because the driver would be in breach of the insurance policy. So things like that must be taken into consideration.
Josh, if this one is from states again, out of the region, if the drivers decide to settle the accident out of court and request no police investigation, and later decided to go to their insurance company for assistance, the first question the insurance company asks is whether the police was called to the scene. Because for insurance to settle, the police has to provide an insurance report. In case of a driver has no insurance, then he would have to settle out of his own pocket. Is that
correct?
Is that the case?
Yeah, that's correct.
Right now, you heard it for yourself. Okay. And in the meantime, I have a friend here who says, okay, so that was the report. This other one, this was it. Okay, I'm looking for somebody who just sent me. Oh, yes. Jayut, Adventure Tours. He said, check him. Okay, I'll do it for you. He's Jayut. Yeah. Give him a call. He has some information regarding that. 617-6508 and 245-5136. Thank you, Jayut, for that. Yeah. Okay. You think we can? We have just about 30 minutes. You think we can make a shift?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Listen. Get to the point. Your point is, DAIC has recently made a public statement regarding that public statement that was made in Parliament by Dr. Vince Anderson, really questioning the authenticity and quality of the bottle caps of a Dominican indigenous company. But was that responsible? To say that against...
No, that's always irresponsible. especially as a parliamentarian. More is given to you, more is expected of you. Parliamentarians ought to hold the office of parliamentary representation at the highest level. And every parliamentarian is a de facto ambassador of Dominica and therefore ought to do his utmost to promote and elevate Dominica and to promote and elevate nationals and entities and companies. And where any parliamentarian would attempt to debase, denigrate, to savage a person or a company, that's not in the best interest of the island. Politics is what it is. But in that particular situation, that was uncalled for, it was unprovoked, unless if something happened behind the scenes, which would still not justify such expressions.
Okay, that's it. Answer this call.
Hello, good afternoon.
Mr. Francis Moses and Mr. Joshua Francis.
Yes, sir.
How are you, gentlemen?
Fine enough, thank you.
Let me tell you something. I heard the attorney spoke a while ago about if a bus is overloaded and then there's an accident that the insurance is not obliged to pay. I'm asking the question now, what redress the passengers will be affected of? Mr. Francis, what redress do have?
Well,
there is no fault of theirs that the man overloaded the bus. And if they are injured and nobody's paying them, what redress do they have, Mr. Francis?
No, they have redress. They have redress. They can sue their driver as well as the other driver, especially if the other driver would not have taken responsibility. So they do have redress.
Answer this next one. Josh, you in charge today, you know?
In charge.
You're the DJ one time because I handled the phone here.
DJ Joshua.
Yeah, because the questions are coming in from Chicago, from New York, from Washington, from Miami, from New York, all over the place. So I'm handling 3 phones and the computer. So you have to answer the question.
Hi, good afternoon. Talk on the block.
Yes.
Welcome to the big station.
Yes, I. Okay.
Frankly, you don't watch yourself. I replace you. You know. I just talking to Mr. Greg Guire.
Doesn't matter. I'll come to you to defend me.
Yes, good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon. Franklin, I heard Franklin talk about, let's, for instance, if you're driving on the Tower Cliff and then a storm.
Yes, and yeah.
And Joshua's answer was the insurance company considered it an act of God. But, well, that actually offends me because that is the same insurance company that also, when hurricane passed, they finance people for their house. When their house get damaged, people get what the insurance is supposed to give them. And why a hurricane is not considered an act of God also? So it seems to me there are certain financial institutions and other organization or whatever that want to feature me in what is act of God. They don't even serve God, but they know what is act of God just because they want to rob you of your money. You know what I'm saying? So on the other hand, what is it? That's a question to Joshua. What about the government? The government repair roads and they don't put the necessary rail guards in places that are necessary. You know what I'm saying? What about an accident happening and taking a life? Who is responsible for that? You see? That's another problem. All right.
Thank you, Josh.
Yeah, on the first question or the first statement that he made, again, one would have to look at the terms and conditions of the insurance policy because some policies specify coverages in terms of what the insurer would compensate for. So, for example, you could have windshield insurance. So whether the windshield was broken by a rock or by a missile, that is for the insurer to decide whether they're going to compensate for the destruction of the windshield. So it all depends on the terms and conditions. On the second question of roads lacking certain infrastructural conditions causing an accident resulting in death, who is responsible? If it can be proven that the accident resulted not by the negligence of the driver or the recklessness of the driver, but solely or partly due to the deficiency on the road, then the state would be responsible. And the state can be sued, but the issue in those circumstances based on evidence and expert witnesses. Because if you take a matter like that before the court, it's not just telling the court, look, I had an accident because There were serious speed bumps, and I could not avoid them. And when I went down into the speed bump, that's what happened. You're going to probably need expert witnesses to say, well, where you have speed bumps of that nature, the natural result when a vehicle passes on it is an accident, that sort of thing. So it's one thing to sue, it's another thing to have the evidence to support the claim. But it is plausible to sue the state. And I'm sure we may have one or two cases here in our jurisdiction where persons would have sued the state from accidents. And it's not just vehicular accidental. So if you're walking in town and you're not aware that there is you know, a pothole, as an example, it just rained and it appears that just water on the road and your foot happens to go down into a hole, then you may want to consider a lawsuit. Or if you're walking an area on the sidewalk and there's a crevice causing your foot or your feet to penetrate, causing injuries, you may have a case. So case by case, Franklin.
Yeah. Okay. Let's take that.
About victims of auto accidents. That's where personal injury attorneys make their money, and that's why we do videos on them. But in this video, we're going to talk about it from the other side of the coin. We're going to talk about what happens if you cause the auto accident, what the ramifications are going to be, and what you can and cannot still recover for. So if you were responsible for the accident, you are the at-fault party, and the victim is going to file a claim against your insurance policy. And potentially they're going to file a lawsuit against you to recover for their damages. That only happens on rare occasions. But in either case, you are now the defendant. You are defending yourself against the claim of the victim. So in this situation, the first thing that you should always do after an accident is file a claim with your insurance company, because the victim is going to anyways. And you need to really work with your insurance company, regardless if it is Geico or Allstate or State Farm or whoever it might be. In this rare situation, your insurance company could be your best friend. This is why you purchased auto insurance in the first place. I've had a few cases in the last couple of years where defendants didn't want to turn over their insurance information to the victim of an accident. That's a bad move. It's almost a guaranteed way to get sued. If you are at fault or responsible for an auto accident, turn the information over to your insurance company and let them run with it. That's what they're there for. Once a claim is filed with your insurance company, you have an obligation to work with them in good faith. So I've seen some situations where people who caused accidents didn't respond to their insurance company's inquiries, didn't offer or agree to provide them a recorded statement. These are all mistakes. If you don't give them a recorded statement, get estimate for damages to your vehicle, work with them to get the claim resolved, they could deny your claim entirely, and that is another good way for you to get sued. So what are the practical ramifications for having hit someone or having caused an accident? Well, the one that we all dread is that our insurance rates are going to go up. There's almost no way out of it. Some insurance companies have different deals, accident forgiveness and things like that, but generally speaking, if you cause an accident, your rates are going to go up. It's just a fact of life, and it is what it is, and it's something that we have to deal with. Think about it this way. What if you didn't have auto insurance? You would be on the hook for the damages you caused to that victim. It happens all the time in this country, right? People are driving around the streets without insurance. I've talked about it in many videos on this channel. So you did the right thing. You had insurance. My strong suggestion is turn it over to your insurance company and pay the price now, because if you didn't have insurance, you'd be paying for it later. The second thing to know is that you are going to have damage to your vehicle as well, and you want your insurance company to cover those damages. It sometimes, in fact, it often depends on whether you have the right type of insurance in advance or prior to the accident. So I strongly suggest you call your insurance agent and make sure you have collision and comprehensive coverage on your vehicle. That way, in case you cause the accident, you can still get your vehicle repaired. Now, I've had a lot of calls from people who caused accidents.
And so have I. It's 2:40 in the afternoon. Okay. Okay, so let's go. Thank you, Glenda, for watching. My partner Joshua. Okay, Josh, you have to make sure you, because fire news happening. Let me say good afternoon to my partner Albi. Nice to have you. Okay, so So Josh, this one, my partner Joshua. Anyway, no, depending on to find out what's happening. You want to know what's happening to your party, Papa? Okay, we'll come back to that. We want to know. And so Marlene says, yes, yeah, okay, thank you, Marlene. Okay, somebody suggesting that the system needs to be strengthened, needs to be reinforced. But let's go back to this subject as we unroll. If there's any point in time that you have any particular subject that you want to talk about, what we're talking about, what is the redress and the safety or the safety net, the protection that is available for parliamentarians? In this case, Dr. Dr. Henderson, who made what's that you're talking about? Responsibility.
Yeah, but you have parliamentary privileges where statements made in parliament are not subject to lawsuits. So it's not like somebody who feels aggrieved by a statement in parliament can sue the author of the statement. As in this case, Dr. Henderson cannot be legally challenged because he's under the umbrella of parliamentary privilege. But of course, the aggrieved party, as is deemed by many and as perceived by many, has put out a public statement, which I read yesterday, very succinct and to the point.
Yeah, okay. Take this call. Take this one.
Hello, good afternoon. Talk on the block.
Hey, what's up? Good afternoon.
I'm well, thanks. Franklin wants me to be a co-host. He's trying to train me here.
Hello?
Yes, good afternoon.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead. Yes, we can hear you clearly.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get that thing clear. I mean, okay, thanks. I mean, a person makes a statement in parliament, they are privileged. But I think the most important thing about the statement in parliament, it has to be fair and accurate. And I am trying to find out for the like of me, what was wrong with the statement that Honorable Henderson made when I heard him was even defending the company in parliament. I saw the statement that he wrote, but sometimes we make an issue about something. What is the issue? He said he made a complaint. Then he said something about the company, that they need to protect our company. People need to buy from our local company. So please tell me, what is the issue that is wrong with Bill Henderson? And if he is making a statement in parliament and the statement is correct, I would like to know what is wrong. Because what I'm saying, the most important thing, you must make a statement that is wrong, that cannot be contracted, and defame a person. It's not fair. So I want to know whether is that what you're saying that it is. That's my question.
Franklin, okay. I think that question is to you.
Yeah, okay, but hang on a while because I got something here.
It's not safe. There is an implication that it could be.
You tend to think of the worst, dog.
Yes, exactly. I mean, now, even with what I know, I would have paused now when I touch a Tropito bottle of water.
That's not good.
And I just felt like that could have been handled very differently.
Yeah.
You know, and because, it's a reputation of the company, a company that, as they rightly said, and has been in operation for many, many years.
It's Josephine and Company, Josephine Gabriel and Company is at the heart of the country. I don't think that there's a value you can put as to the level of investment.
Absolutely.
At the management
over many years. And they've been involved
done for Dominica,
and they've been involved in the bottled industry as well, bottling of soft drinks and stuff. Because when you say it's not safe, there is an implication that it could be.
You tend to think of the worst, dog.
Yes, exactly. I mean, now, even with what I know, I would.
That listener, I hope that brought to you a little clarity. We do not have at this point in time talking specifically But I know Doc is my partner, but it inflamed. So we're non-partisan here. We're just speaking the truth to power. Josephine Gabriel has released, and we in the news business we've read these instances, so it has touched a nerve for this company. But that's yes, 246. There's a stock on the block. What's on your mind?
Yes, what's on my mind? So the caller who just called and wanted to know what's wrong with the statement that Vincent Anderson did in Parliament. What proof has Vincent Anderson provided that the product of Josephine Gabriel is unsafe? When you make a statement, you have to have something to back it up. And you shouldn't use the shield of Parliament to hide behind. Only cowards do that. So if you have a statement to make, provide the evidence to support your statement. Don't they have a Bureau of Standards here, people? Hello?
We're listening. We're listening.
I ask, do we have a Bureau of Standards?
Yes, we do.
So if you have a Bureau of Standards, isn't that the who that should be addressed to, or who should be addressing that, or the way to do everything? There's a professional way to do everything, not a cowardly way to go in Parliament where you are fully protected. And all those men and women that go in Parliament to do things like that, they are just plain old cowards. That's what it is. So the caller wants to know is what is wrong with the statement. He needs to provide the proof of what he is saying. That's what's wrong with it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yes. Overseas?
Yes, good afternoon.
Yeah. I know you had chat going this morning. Talk to me.
Good afternoon to you and Joshua. Joshua, good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon, sir.
Gentlemen, I've been listening to you all the time. Franklin, I'm a regular.
After all. Yeah.
The whole of the people who listen to you know I listen.
Mm-hmm.
And I must say, the gentleman, I'm not just going to give him the credit to call his name. We just called to defend that kind of statement against indigenous business. Is the same set of people who put Brisbane out of business. Brisbane, I think that was the story they put out of business. They stood at the head of government and decided they're going to boycott an indigenous business and put them out of business. That is the same mindset you're dealing with. So the thing is, the people have never taken their responsibilities seriously as far as the elected officials are concerned. And that kind of mindset will continue. To sit there and say that a company water ain't safe, a company is not this and that and whatnot, and you are a person who are in charge of running the country, a member of parliament, trying to help businesses, trying to help the country grow, trying to help govern the country in the right manner, shows that your head is not in the right place. You have different prerogatives as far as running a country goes. I'm not going to say exactly how I feel. I'll be respectful to your radio,
Thank you very much.
radio
Thank you.
station
Thank
and your
you.
program, but that kind of mindset has no place in government. That kind of mindset has no place in what we call nation building, because it's totally out of place and ridiculous. And who is to say that the person who they're going to give the contract to explore our resource is an outsider? I don't know whether it's a native son, native daughter, or a foreign interest. So it tells you where they feel about the native of this country, and time again, these things go unchecked. I'm not gonna go into your conversation prior to that question came up, but I just had to call because I just tried call a while ago to make a comment on your insurance, but this one is more important that I call and say something on it, and the people must register their disgust with that kind of nonsense in government. Thank you.
Thank you very much. 1 second, Josh.
Yeah.
That's just a quiet moment there with Tropical Water at 2:51 in the afternoon. What's on your mind? Talk to me.
Hey, good afternoon, Honorable Joshua and Honorable Franklin Peter Moses.
I've not been elected as yet. We will be. Well, I said not as yet, but I'm running now.
For avoidance of doubt, Daniel Thomas, the man from Nakutepna, I want to compliment you for your creativity and innovation and the joy you bring to the hosting of the program. I want to thank Joshua for being there to take the tough questions when nobody else in his profession appears to want to come there and take it. Thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Thank you. When I heard the comments of the guy in Parliament, I don't want to refer to him as anything else for that. I cringed because I was saying to myself that a dispassionate and honorable speaker would have stopped him and asked him to apologize and withdraw the statement. Because I am a consumer of tropical water. And man, I'm wondering what difficulties I have trying to open the cork, the bottle top. There's the lid of the bottle. It's difficult to do that because there's some plastic stuff that I just have to twist and turn to open the top of the tropical bottle. And I'm wondering where the gentleman came, where he coming from with respect to that dishonorable statement in the House. When you should be boosting and elevating, promoting local companies. And, and the DIC statement is instructive. It talked about evidence-based statements. I don't know if he had one isolated case of a bottle that was loose, because I've never had one incident, one case where the bottle top was easily broken or opened. It was tough. That is tropical water. So for the minister, whatever his name is, to go in the House and make that statement, in my view, that's a dishonorable statement. And I'm disappointed that the speaker did not tell him this is wrong. And that minister is not a very honorable person for several other reasons. And to go in the House and the hubris and arrogance that is stated and instructing the Standards Bureau to go and investigate them. And, because the DIC said they have received no official statement of any matters concerning the compromising of the bottle top. So he's instructing them, just like Tony Estefan instructed somebody some time ago to go and investigate Lennox Minton. So I'm disturbed by that, and I feel that was inappropriate. I think it was wrong, but I'm not disappointed because this is the person who this person is: hubris, arrogance, and he's you try to get him to come on the radio, and he will not come on Q95 because he cannot face honest conversation. Gentlemen, enough said. Thank you much for the great work that you're doing. May God bless you all, guys. Have a great afternoon, both of you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Because now Dominica can talk. Thank you very much, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So we have just about 5 minutes. Because we've had now the advent of people are suggesting out of the purview of the media, but on the street, are they hinting that this new company that's coming in, they juxtaposing for position? I'm just saying it like here in town. More than one person is suggesting, well, the new Lubia area being the Dominica Brewery area that was responsible for the Lubia water. Then Trapiton had been, in fact, I've seen Trapiton sponsoring almost everything. We thought that there was this dichotomy between the sponsorship. It's 2:55. Good afternoon. We come to the end of the program this afternoon. What's on your mind? Talk to Joshua Francis is here with me.
Yes, good afternoon to you, Francis, and to Joshua Francis and Franklin Moses.
Yes, sure.
Hi, good afternoon, sir.
I was very taken aback when I heard the statement against one of our indigenous companies, and I'm wondering whether it's a delayed effect of the whole question of slavery, because how it is that we appear to be just against what is ours. We appear not to have no sense of pride and no sense of ownership of what is Dominican, what is Dominican grown. A country where we should be proud of people like Suki, who makes bread and provide other services to the nation. They were attacked. People like Macmillan Services are people that we should emulate as Dominicans, local homegrown business people. Jolly's Pharmacy, an outstanding company over the years who have provided services for families when they sometimes were not even sure of having money to go to the doctor. They would explain to Mr. Jolly what it is, and then he would prescribe something for them, and they grew, they had confidence, and they became repeat customers of Mr. Jolly. And we can go on and on about our indigenous homegrown companies. And here it is. Why I'm offended is because I remember as a student at the Dominica Grammar School, being part of the student council, we had our little fundraising program, and we went to the company, just our neighbor at grammar school, and we requested of them if they could provide us with some drinks and credit so that we could sell and raise funds. And they were so open and willing to assist us. And I remember many of the things that or the activities we would have at grammar school, we would request support and sponsorship, and they were always so willing and ready to accommodate us. And so I personally, as a former grammar school student who knew what they even contributed to our student council as a student, I took great offense by this man who went in parliament where he knows he has parliamentary immunity and is openly attacking a business that we have destroyed a few already with our words in parliament. Why do we want to continue? And the speaker himself, that speaker, who himself was a victim of a minister attacking his business, he was so offended by that. And he who has the authority to protect the public, because we have no redress in parliament, instead he protects the company from this onslaught by this man in parliament. He sits on a chair, aimless, and not even aware that his role is to protect us from that type of attack. And so I'm very disappointed in the person who made the pronouncements, and I'm very disappointed in that man they call a speaker in the House of Assembly. To Josephine Gabriel and company, and to Dominican citizens, I want us to support what is our own. Josephine Gabriel and company's money goes back into our society, into our communities, into assisting different sporting clubs and other activities. That is where our money should be spent. And so let us, through a silent protest against that attack, begin even more to support and to buy our homegrown Trapita water. Thank you, gentlemen. Good program.
Marshall Montana.
Yeah, well, this is the water. All throughout. Get ready to blow. Here we go. It's all about blood and free. When you think we can come down, blowing all over the town. What's happening? Join up like a water. What's happening? Pressure when we start to do. What's happening?
Yes, Josh. Why? We started on the street, we end up in the river.
If we're not careful, then we'll end up in the sea and go adrift.
But that's how we come to the end this afternoon. We covered insurance, we covered vehicles, we covered all the possibilities and probabilities, and time for we're taking a review look at the windscreen of water of vehicles, and then we went to the source and the source of water, and the source of a very discontenting statement. Still want to support
Tuapito.
Tuapito, yeah. Tripitons.
Tuapito Water. Josephine and Gabriel.
Yeah, Josephine Gabriel and Company.
Yeah. Limited.
Yeah. So, yeah, Josh, when we meet again, we have many subjects to chew on.
Well,
next time we meet,
there are always issues, frankly.
Yeah.
But it's always a pleasure to be here to interact with Dominicans. I hope all our listeners are having a good afternoon. Of course, some may be in the morning zone.
Yeah.
Some may be celebrating. You know, some may be reflecting.
Yeah.
Some meditating. Let's hope nobody's suffering.
Yeah, and a little children are lactating.
Right.
It's always a pleasure to be with you, bro.
Always. So let's just wish our listeners, a very good afternoon.
Yeah.
Remainder of the week, a great week.
Yes.
Let's pray for if there are problems, there'll be resolutions. If there are wars, there'll be peace. If there are setbacks, there'll be triumphs.
Yes.
Let's just hope the best for all of us
and
be grateful for life.
I'm going to say that your business, your school is opening and we have a nice little place. I noticed there's a nice what's the name of that?
Kiddies Hub.
Kiddies Hub.
Yeah,
so if you want
Hub.
your books and all of your little things for the toddlers and for the children, the Kiddies Hub is up at Macmillan down on Castle Street. Yes. You pop in there, I'll be there doing some stuff for them and make sure that you this is your first step for all things school, all things entertainment, all things educational. It's available at Kiddies Hub. Okay, we got to go now. 3:02. There's a few business to do. Josh, thank you very much, man.
Always a pleasure, man.
Yeah, maybe next time Matt will be here, but I'll be inside.
And good afternoon to Matt.
Yeah, man. Yeah, brother. Yeah, come back soon. Missing you. Okay.
Blessings, brother. Blessings.
Okay. One love.
Yeah,
yes.
one love.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Isa Trading Limited does it again. Another great product you want at unbeatable prices you like. Just received Olive Oil's land brand called Express Extra Virgin Olive Oil. Finest quality of olive oil. Available at 500 milliliter and 1 liter glass bottles. Delicious, healthy, and nutritious. Olive Oil's land olive oil now available at Isa Trading Limited. Prices as low as $22.50 per bottle. Isa Trading Limited, making a difference for you.
The New India Insurance Company has reopened its stores in Pasmo, offering the same great services you get in Rozo. Motor vehicle insurance, home and business owners, fire and related carriers, public liability, and so much more. Come, visit us today for insurance with a personal touch on Bay Street, Pasmo, or call us at 445-4023. We are ready to serve you.
If you know quality, then you must know the manufacturers of Dominica's finest rums. Belfast Estate Limited, over 80 years leading the industry with exceptional standards and formidable customer service. We present the manufacturers of BB Rum, Soca Rum, Red Cap Rum, Cask Rum, and the signature Belfast Estate Rum Punch. With island-wide distribution daily, Belfast Estate Limited has cemented its mark as the distributor of choice for products like Eldorado range of rums and creams, Kubali Bear, Corona Bear, Guinness, Root Boy drink, and of course, Sunblast juices, Toffee snacks, Vitamalt, and Pine Hill juices. Call the office at 440-7032